Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. I hope you're doing well. I am here with the book review for Deadly Price by Nikki Mellado. If you don't know who Nikki is, she is from Texas, an author of 3 books, has her own YouTube channel titled Writing for Jesus. And yeah, I'm here to talk about her book. This is the last book review I have for Indie Author August. It is coming to a close. I'm a little melancholy about it, but I am going to further my indie reading into the next month as well. I have some indie authors as part of my TBR for September and on, so I'm excited. But before we get started with the book review, let's give you some fun author facts. So as I mentioned, Nikki has her own YouTube channel titled Writing for Jesus. She credits her grandmother, who is also a self-pub author, for the one who kind of got her into the writing and indie author kind of route. And it's interesting because it's sort of a family affair with her. When I asked her another question about, how they go through the editing process and whatnot, Nikki and her mom are really the editing team. Her dad and one of their writer friends are the beta readers. So a true family affair. When I asked, what's one thing you had wished you had known before you self-published? And Nikki said, I wish I had known how manipulating some places could be. It took me 2 months to find a good printing company, and she uses 48-hour books. I also asked, what part of the writing process do you enjoy most, and what part do you dread? Nikki went on to say, acting out scenes before I write them is one of her favorite parts of it. It helps her figure out which body movements and dialogue are more natural and realistic. She also likes editing and cleaning up, though sometimes it can get tiring and tedious. She says, I dread writing the zero draft because I know it's going to be rough. Finally, I asked, what's been the biggest challenge in marketing your books and what has worked surprisingly well? She said, it's been a challenge marketing because I'm actually not huge on doing it. Usually word of mouth and YouTube is the way I go. What surprised me, however, is how many books I've given up to strangers at restaurants. I'm well received most of the time. And so without further ado, let's dive right in and talk about Deadly Price from Nikki Mellado. And so Deadly Price by Nikki Mellado, it was published earlier this year. It goes probably, if I had to put it in a genre, it's science fiction. I would say I'm probably on the lighter side of science fiction. I wanted to mention too, this was really cool kind of nugget I found. There is a video where she kind of launches, hey, I'm finally finished with the book. And I will link that video below in the description because I found that really interesting when she talks a little more about how this book came to be. And she also, all the proceeds that she gets from selling her book goes to support the Chosen TV series on Prime. Yeah, as you can tell, Nikki is a very religious person, and I think it's fantastic, and I definitely wanted to buy a copy and support that. So let's dive right in and talk about the summary of this book. So it's about 2 brothers, late teenagers. They're both abducted from their home and their planet Earth, and they're taken on a ship, and they're flown millions and millions of miles outside of our solar system, and they're forced to fight in an arena. And other species come and make wagers, and they fight other species and other aliens. And in and of itself, it is kind of a first contact in a way, but it's not really about that. It's about the relationship and dynamic of 2 brothers and overcoming their plight. And Riley and Wesley are the Price brothers. Riley is the older brother. Wesley is the younger brother, again, late teenagers. And they are trying to kind of discern what is going on. Because at the very beginning of the book, you're thrown right into this thing. And while that's happening, they're trying to figure out where they're at, if their mom and dad are okay, and then dealing with what is taking place. It's very quick. They're thrown into things and they have to figure things out. And pretty much they're prisoners that have to fight to stay alive, to fight to get better perks, better food, better accommodations. And yeah, the fighting matches with other alien species, fighting for survival, for hope of escape, and for each other is pretty much the summary of this thing. So let's talk a little bit about what I enjoyed. I really enjoyed how this was plotted out. The beginning kind of just throws you right into the mix. You know, there's not a lot of setup, and I like that a lot because it just got things going from the jump, and you're kind of figuring things out along with both brothers as they're trying to process what's going on. And I think that's really interesting because it really takes the reader's point of view and dives you right in. The characters are fantastic. Not only do you have Riley and Wesley, but you have some friendships that are made. There's some that you think are made, but they're not. And who can you trust? But there's some really great characters. You know, Jim, Merc, Slay. There's a bunch of them I really, really enjoyed. The leader, the person that we introduce, is by the name, they call him the leader, but some call him Farrell. Very interesting character. Plays a huge role, is the main antagonist here. Sick, the commander, he is goes by the name Sick, and yeah, he is another one that has a pretty big role in the story from here and there. The arena fights in themselves are really interesting, especially when the boys kind of level up in a way, and they realize that they have powers, along with several different revelations which kind of goes hand in hand with why they're there. And I think that's really interesting. The writing is straightforward. I think Nikki does a fantastic job writing this. There's a lot of emotions. It's heavily focused on two brothers vying together, staying together, doing everything together, even when at times they're apart. And so it's heavily influenced about that dynamic and relationship. Neon the Dragon, I'm just going to say that, a fantastic character. It's very heavy on the character story. Riley is the main point of view here, and it just works really, really well. There's one excerpt I thought was really, really good. It was, I think everyone wants a reset button in their lives. Now, that was a really indicative question, a very humanistic question in the midst of everything that's going on. I do have one criticism. The ending is a tad rushed for my taste. I kind of just wanted to see some things flushed out a little more because I was really enjoying myself. And so take that criticism for what it's worth. It was more of, I was just kind of being selfish and wanting more story because I was really, really enjoying it. In terms of rating and overall, I give it a 4.4. I thought it was great. It had a fun mix of action, plotting, two great brothers who are characters sticking together, facing all odds. The matter-of-fact writing, it's greatly kind of spoken in terms of conversations, especially in the relationship dynamic of two brothers and what they're dealing with. A lot of introspective character dialogue, which I think works really, really great. Obviously this book in caps, Indie Author August, and what a way to go. And then with that being said, I have two final comments and Indie Author Insights I wanted to share with you. I asked Nikki, what kind of readers do you think will connect most with your work, and what do you hope they get from it? She went on to say, I've written 2 mysteries and 1 sci-fi, but I think anyone who loves strong friendships and family connections will enjoy my books. I love God and the way he designed the family unit. I hope readers leave my books inspired to love their fellow man the way my characters do, truly self-sacrificial, to say no to evil, to never give up, and never surrender. And lastly, I said, what advice would you give to aspiring indie authors on the fence about self-publishing? And she said, save your money and then go for it. It's so hard to get traditionally published, and it's such a long waiting game. I wanted to get my story out the moment I was ready. There's something so amazing about seeing your hard work, your very own book, that you can share with family and friends and strangers. And so that is my take. Again, 4.4 out of 5 for Deadly Price from Nikki Mellado. I hope you enjoy this. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of my Indie Author August. What a way to end it. And I hope you have a great weekend. I will talk to you later.